Hello, Mr. Barton here, and in this video I seek to answer the question, how do I collect students' responses to diagnostic questions with no technology? Now, whenever I first started working with the idea of diagnostic questions, of course there was no website there, so I had to use no technology because there just wasn't anything around. Now, I'll be entirely honest, I probably split it between the two. Half the time I'll have kids using technology, certainly for homework they'll be answering their questions on the website, and then sometimes in class we'll use the Diagnostic Questions app to answer questions and so on, but still a significant portion of the time I use it exactly as I used it at the very beginning. No technology at all. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So very simply, I project a question up on the board, on the interactive whiteboard or whatever, and I'll just grab that question from a Diagnostic Questions website, project it straight up there. I will give the kids 10 seconds to think in silence. Now that's an average time. It'll depend on the complexity of the question. But as I've said in an earlier video, if it's taking the kids longer than say 20 seconds, it's probably not a good question because there's too many thought processes going in play. You want to isolate the specific skills. So 10 seconds for me is a decent amount of time. And then I simply get them to vote. 1 finger for A, 2 for B, 3 for C, 4 for D. Now, my colleague, Mr. Lynch, I'll give him a little shout out there, he's enhanced this because he says if the kids are just guessing, he'd rather know and he wants them to do a fist. So 1 for A, 2 for B, 3 for C, 4 for D, fist if they're guessing. Personally, I would rather know what they're guessing so I can get an insight into the kind of most common misconception, but that's purely personal preference. So that is how I get my kids to vote. Personally, I'm not a big fan of mini whiteboards for this kind of stuff. Even though it's a very low-tech solution, it can lead to a lot of trouble with handing the pens out. My pen's not working, sir. Somebody's drawn something that isn't quite an A, B, C or D on the mini whiteboard, blah, 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 blah. So I think fingers, A, B, C and D. And as Dylan William, who's the kind of guru of all this kind of stuff, points out, kids rarely forget their fingers. So that will be my way of doing it. Now, in future videos, we're going to look at dealing with different kids' responses and all that kind of stuff. But that is how I collect the results in. All right, bye for now.